first question, maybe for Ridley, is how do you see The Martian sort of fitting into your sort of larger kind of sci-fi films?
Well, the challenge is, sci-fi mostly is fantasy. What was really attractive about this is the total reality of the situation. I think I mentioned earlier there was a film I always quite liked, I liked a lot actually, called The Right Stuff, which kind of got into the early days of the astronauts, and I thought this, whilst it's not the same at all, but I love the reality of the situation, the challenges that an astronaut may have in how long, 15 years, 20 years?
Right.
Yeah.
And for Matt, obviously Mark Watney kind of has a personality in the book, and how was it to kind of bring that to life, and what specific sort of aspects of his personality kind of drew you to taking on this character?
Do you want to ask him that?
Yeah, sorry, to Matt.
I think a lot of people, including myself, really responded to the character in the book that Andy wrote, and Drew Goddard, our screenwriter, I thought did a great job of capturing that. And so, yeah, it's like being a chef and getting a really good piece of meat to cook. You don't want to overthink it and mess it up too much and bronze the gold medal. So I just tried to kind of keep alive what Andy had created.
Yeah, were there parts of the book that you sort of drew to and kind of wanted to bring to life and sort of put that voice, into the character as well?
Well, I think the humor and the way that I think us kind of mere mortals are always captivated by the way people can do this and seem to have some preternatural calm when they're in these incredibly high stress situations, and that was what was really attractive about the character, how he kept his sense of humor and this incredible logical kind of practical solve one problem at a time type of thinking, and it's what these real guys can actually do. It's amazing. I'm sitting next to one of them, so.
Yeah, actually, Drew, for you, like seeing that, what is it? Is it kind of interesting to sort of want to see an astronaut character like that brought to life and have him be sort of more of a human character than what they are, I think, in a lot of films?
Yeah, I mean, it was, for me, I've read the book 1.5 times. I tried to read it a second time before showing up here today just to get caught up again, but it's amazing. You guys did a great job. Congratulations. I mean, for what I've seen, it's pretty spectacular. And bringing the book to life, what's I think special about the book for myself, and it's probably true for a lot of astronauts, is the relevant topics in there, the things that are very real for us. We all have visions of exploring space and eventually getting to Mars and going beyond. And so for me, what's great about the book and the movie that we've seen is that it really brings those things to life, and they're very relevant for us now. So I want to thank you guys for making us look good. I mean, I don't know, we're not as smooth and cool as what we see on the screen and even in the book, but at least you give us a chance to look good in public, so thanks for that.
There's an hour and a quarter to go, so there's a lot to see.
I can't wait to see the rest.
And Andy, for you talked a little bit about this before, but I'm sort of curious what this journey has been. It has been rather quick, even just since the original ebook was published. But now that this has already happened, so what has the journey been like for you?
Oh, it's been this just ridiculous, like, Cinderella story. I mean, like, you fantasize about these kinds of things when you're writing, but you never really think they'll come true. It's kind of like when you're a little kid playing baseball. You're like, someday I'm going to be bottom of the ninth in the World Series. But right. It's like, this actually happened. I mean, Jesus. I saw the full cut of the film on Friday, and I got to say, like, I love it. and Matt, you completely nailed the character. Like, it is exactly how I imagined Watney. So thanks for that.
And for Dr. Green and for Drew, I'm kind of curious, how sci-fi films like this, kind of, I don't know, reflect your work at NASA, and also, the kind of bring it to life in a way. And what do you think what do you think audiences can kind of take from that as well?
Well, science fiction is extremely important in our culture. It's ingrained in what we do, but it really projects a vision of the future, something that we aspire to. And what I really enjoyed about the book and the movie is how close to reality it can be. It's just around the corner for us. And things that we haven't invented that we see in the movie, it's ingrained in our mind, and we project that, and we want to develop that. That's how it will look. And that's really exciting. And we all have a part to play when we do things like that.
I think we want to open it up to questions. If people can maybe raise their hands. I think we have mics going around. Yes? Is there any questions from right here? Yeah, the mic right there.
Can you talk about, this is for Ridley Scott, did you make any decision to, on Mars, shoot it like it's Earth gravity? Did you talk about trying to portray more Mars gravity, and if that was too difficult?
Are you an expert?
How
much do you know?
I'm an astrophysicist.
Earth's gravity, Mars is 40%, right, of Earth. So by the time you put on a fairly chunky suit, even the surface suit, not just the big white suit that appears in the end, is fairly heavy. So we worked out the mathematics roughly. It's kind of more or less just under norm movement. So that's where we made a decision. So we were wrong, right?
I think in a situation like that, you just kind of have to suggest it. You know what I mean? You can't ever, we're not at the plate where we can do 40% gravity. I mean, we can do weightless. You know, we know how to, we can get on wires, and we do all that for the space stuff. We're all on wires. Or you can do the vomit comet. You can do that and do weightless for 20 seconds or whatever. But for real scene work like we do at the end, it's all wires. We're still doing what we did 40 years ago. But for doing kind of 40% the gravity, it's just, you can only suggest it, I think.
Yeah, it looks great, the way it came out.
Yep, right here.
Matt, is this a movie where you have to carry a lot more of it? It's almost like an actor doing a solo performance. Is that something you look forward to, or something you kind of dread taking on?
It's like I think it's the illusion that I carry the movie. It's actually all down to Ridley. It really is. And I'll get a lot of the credit for what he did, because he's got to keep the audience with just one actor up there. He's got to keep them involved and keep the story going. And it really was the reason I wanted to do it. I read the script. I thought it was great. I read the book. I thought it was great. But when I heard Ridley wanted to do it, that was it's a director's medium, what I do. And when you get one of the greatest directors of all time, it's just a very, very quick phone call. And it was a challenge. I said, okay, well, it's going to be me, in a lot of these scenes, but it's going to be me and Ridley Scott, and that's a very easy decision to make.
He was never that generous on set.
Actually, the first day we worked, it was the kind of first monologue. It was a couple pages, and I did one take, and he came bounding onto the set, and he goes, "We should shoot 2 movies at once."
Yeah, sorry. Pink.
Hi, I'm Cassandra. I'm a journalist for the Los Angeles Times High School Insider, and this question is for Mr. Damon. Mark points out that he is low on the ladder, that he is, the 18th person to step on Mars, and while he doesn't shift in perspective in the way he sees himself, he's sort of awed at the celebrity and attention he's received from back at home. So, did your perspective of yourself ever shift in your moments of celebrity?
No, I'm an actor. So the astronauts are very selfless. They're thinking of the bigger project. The actors who just want to look at themselves. Totally different animal.
I think I'm next. Hi, Matt. I'm Julie Chang with Good Day LA. I think over here.
Where's he?
Oh, waving. I'm over here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
How eager and excited are you to inspire a future generation of scientists with this movie?
Well, it's funny, Drew Goddard, who adapted the screenplay, when I sat and talked with him, it was the first thing he said. He said, I want this to be a love letter to science. And I thought, and we had a long conversation about that, and how that's a really wonderful thing to put out into the world right now. And yeah, I hope, I don't have any lofty expectations, but I do hope that some kids see it and get and geek out on the science and enjoy it, and maybe it's one thing in many other things in their life that might push them in that direction.
I really think that indeed will happen. we're talking about the Mars generation. Ridley and I and Drew perhaps were around when we landed on the moon, and we were the lunar generation. That was pretty spectacular. But when we landed Curiosity on Mars, we had the world's attention. And that's the Mars generation. That's the inspiration that will propel our economy forward by bringing in the scientists and the engineers. And the movie and the book is a fabulous opportunity for really us to celebrate that.
See where the mic went?
Hi, this is for Matt. Hey, right up here. Hey. So this is like the second time recently that you've been trapped in space. Just wondering, would you go into space if you had the opportunity? Is this something you would want to do? And how do you think your family would feel about that? Would you?
No, but I'd ask Drew all about it. No, I've done a lot of space travel in the last couple of years on screen, and no, I think I would. But I do think you have to be a certain type of person. I mean, like the pioneers were, the people who crossed Death Valley in a wagon. I mean, it takes a special type of person to want to push the envelope, to find where the very edge is and go there, and that's how that's how we evolve. That's how that's why we're here, on the West Coast. So yeah, I think that it takes a special type of person. I'm glad that there are those types of people already, but I think it would be tough for me to do it. Maybe I'll let SpaceX and those guys get out there, for like maybe 20 years or so before I go on a flight.
Right here.
You said earlier this morning that in 20 years there'll be humans on Mars. When will they be chosen, and what does it take for them to qualify?
Oh, actually, that's a good one for Drew, involved in the program and the training.
Yeah, I would say that we're choosing astronauts to go to Mars every time we have an astronaut selection, and the idea is that as we continue on in this legacy of space exploration, each class that we choose, and NASA selects a class every 2 to 5 years, really the goal is to continue to select astronauts that we think are capable and qualified to go to space, and if they're not the ones, they are going to be involved in the planning and preparation and training the next generation of astronauts. So in reality, we've been selecting astronauts to go to Mars since we started the space program, and we continue to do that. The actual selection is really a function of when we have our spacecraft ready, and that's going to take some time. We still have some technological hurdles to get over, but the intent is for us to continue to develop those, explore, and be ready within the next, I think every year that passes, every step we get closer to our Orion spacecraft being completed for deep space exploration, that just enables us to look at additional technologies and figure out what it's going to take to go a little bit farther to Mars. We've been to Mars robotically. Obviously, for us, humans are next, and we just continue on that journey with every passing year within the space program.
If I can do a follow-up. For those who are picked, I assume they will be very, and Ian Matt's character, very psychologically strong. Is that a major factor?
As I said, that's basically who we select. Any mission that we carry out in space requires some level of psychological stability. It's a funny thing about astronauts. We have to be smart enough to fly a spacecraft back to Earth, but just a little bit wacky enough to sit on top of that rocket fuel. So, we're all a little bit Six Sigma in some way or another that allows us to take that trip. And, when the countdown gets to 0, you're definitely having second thoughts about the decisions you make in your life to get there. But you get there and you go there, and for us, it's just about, doing the job that we were trained to do and carrying out the mission.
Hi, everybody. I'm Trace from Discovery News. We cover science and stuff for youth on YouTube. When it comes to recently, there was lettuce eating in space, which is very cool, and the botany part is a big part of this movie. So I thought maybe the science guys could speak a little bit to growing crops in Martian soil, and if that's a viable, is that fiction or is that nonfiction these days?
Well, since Curiosity has landed on Mars and it's interrogated the area that it's at, and it's sitting in an ancient riverbed where the water flowed for tens, maybe hundreds of millions of years. And the water, it seems to have been drinkable. And so this is a fabulous area. And now we've looked at the soil, we've examined it. It actually has nitrates and more nitrogen in them. That's great for fertilizer. We see from Curiosity that there's more humidity than we expected. And that means the soil's also got more humidity. Other than the perchlorates, which indeed are a hazard, some things will grow in that, some things won't. The Martian soil will require some additional material, as shown in the movie and in the book. But so sometimes does soil here on Earth. So I don't think that's a stumbling block as we think anymore. It's now a matter of how to be able to do that. The area, the size, what we can grow. We need to do more experiments in those areas, and that's what we did at Station. Using hydroponics and growing the romaine lettuce. Those are all important steps, and the research is being done through Johnson Space Center.
I'll just say that, so I wrote The Martian, and it was done, and it was set, and I couldn't make any changes around the time Curiosity landed. And so in The Martian, you see Mark Watney right there do all this stuff to generate water on Mars, just this huge hassle that he goes through, reducing hydrazine, blowing himself up, all that stuff like that. Then Curiosity, a little pain in the ass, goes down to Mars, and it samples the soil and finds out that for every cubic meter of Martian soil, there's about 35 liters of water trapped in it. So all he had to do was, bring some dirt inside and heat it up.
Well, in addition to that, we've really looked at the water resources on Mars, and it has a significant amount of water. We believe there's underground aquifers. In fact, we actually believe we've seen now a buried glacier. And so, indeed, we used to think we're going to bring all our water with us, and now all we can tell the astronauts is, well, bring your straw, because we really know where to go and what to do.
Right here. Giandra LaBeouf, Black Sports Online, over here. This question is for the author, Mr. Weir, Andy Weir. What do you think it was about this particular project that resonated with your initial audience and garnered the attention of the people who are creating it?
Well, the initial audience of mine were all like hardcore geeks because I'd been writing science-based humor stuff for about 10 years earlier. So my kind of mailing list was full of people who really like stories where you show your work. It never occurred to me that it would have any mainstream appeal, but I think what people really liked is they just liked the snarky, smart-ass attitude of the main character. That came as a total surprise to me. I really thought it would be this complete niche thing that very few people would be interested in. My favorite thing I love it, is when I get fan mail and it says I don't usually read science fiction, but, and then goes on to say nice things about the book. So,
question for Ridley over here on your left, Ridley. The aspect of the humor. I mean, what was great in the book and what you can see from Drew is the humor because it brings out the humanity. Can you talk about balancing and finding that tone because it's an interesting thing to walk and Right Stuff did it. You're right, but can you talk about finding that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a relationship between what I do and the actor. And we discussed quite in depth about the fact that the story had to be told to a certain extent with quite a lot of voiceover, right? And right there, in effect, that's a challenge for Matt, because otherwise voiceover could easily become elongated and boring. And I think in this, he succeeded brilliantly by incorporating humor, sometimes changing demeanor, because I think we invented the GoPro, because the GoPro became his only companion on board that, whether he's in the habitat or whether he's in the rover, he's always talking. When he's talking to somebody, he's always talking to a buddy, because I figured in that habitat, and there'd be 50 GoPros. Wherever you go, the GoPro, in a funny kind of way, logically is like the black box. If something went wrong, you'd want to know why and when and how it happened, okay? So the GoPro became the companion. But I think you have to hand it to Matt.
I think we have time for one more, and the mic's right there.
Hi, James Darling, Science versus Cinema. A question for Sir Ridley. The film's release date got actually moved up 2 months, which kind of echoes the sort of accelerated deadline the scientists of the story face. I was just curious how that affected you and your team of filmmakers.
Sorry, I missed the last part.
I was curious.
How did that affect you, that being the date moved up?
Your deadline got moved up.
He was done with the movie about 2 weeks after we shot it.
I'm already working on the next movie, dude. Went to Australia to look locations the next movie. But actually, it's Prometheus too. So. Fantasy.
Woo.
Is that it?
One more. Is there a mic out there? One more? Here.
Did you all work with the Science and Entertainment Exchange at all on this project?
Moi?
The Science and Entertainment Exchange?
With the what?
The Science and Entertainment Exchange.
What's that?
It's an organization that was founded by the National Science Foundation to bring experts together with filmmakers. It's an organization.
That probably would have been handy.
But no, I mean, we connected with...
Ridley
we
just
called
called
them
NASA
directly.
headquarters.
We didn't go through an agency, just called them up. And they said, what?
Everybody takes Ridley's call.
And if you're curious about my research process, it was Google. I didn't know anyone in aerospace when I wrote it.
Yeah, in fact, I was coming back from the cafeteria when our public affairs official came by running around looking for me, and he comes up to me and he says, can you take a call with Ridley Scott at 2 o'clock this afternoon? And I said, the Ridley Scott? And he said, yeah. I said, sure. So I just cleared my calendar. I mean, it's that easy.
Tell that to the studios. Don't take my call.
I think that's all the time we have. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.